Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Practice, the podcast where we fuse research and culture to help you develop the mindsets, the habits, the skills that you need in order to live out your purpose with confidence. I'm your host, Dr.Rees. It's time to get better, y'all. Let's grow.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Practices are meant to be competitive. They're meant to be competitive. If your practices aren't more competitive than the games themselves, you're doing the wrong thing.
Y'all, today's episode, we're coming in delicate. We're coming in real smooth and delicate because the topic is trust. We're talking about trust and its relation to the authenticity equation and always reverting back to confidence and how to live out our purpose with confidence. And this topic is, when I think about trust, there's a couple things that come to mind. The first thing is I feel like trust is like a fingernail, right? It takes a long time to grow, but any little nick, boom, could just break that joint. And sometimes you may break, like me, I like to keep my pinky nails long for multiple different reasons. I've done it for forever. But you might break the edge of your pinky nail or any nail, and then it might not be the whole nail that's cracked, but you end up having to cut it all off. And that resembles trust because you might not fracture all of your trust with yourself, but you might have fractured trust in one area with yourself. So then eventually you got to cut it all off so you can start over. And I hope that analogy lands for you, regardless of whether it's a pinky nail or any other kind of nail. Like if your nail is chipped, it can get snagged on things. If your nail is chipped, it could hurt and cause pain. It can look funny. So many different things can happen, which is similar to if your trust is chipped, it could cause you pain. It can snag you up. It can catch you up. And so I really want to tread as carefully as possible with this topic because trust is sensitive. It's fragile. It takes a long time to build. It could be broken overnight. But without trust, we don't have anything. And that's the crazy thing. And when I look into trust, it was so interesting because I was like, let's see what comes up on Google when I type in trust or self-trust. And the first thing that came up was self-confidence. And I was like, yo, how crazy is that? That trust is related to self-confidence. Having self-trust in myself is directly related to self-confidence. And we've talked about this before, but it's always cool when I can Google something and I'm like, yo, look at that. Even Google says it, right? But that's really what it is, because when we break down what trust is, like if you Google it and you look it up or you look it up in the dictionary, and trust is a firm belief in reliability. Like, can I rely on this thing to do what it says it's going to do? Can I rely on this person to do what they say they're going to do? And in this case, we're talking about us. Can I rely on me to do what I said I was going to do? Yo, that hits on so many levels for so many reasons because, it goes to discipline, it goes to consistency, it goes to patience, it goes to faith. Like, trust is at the center that connects to every other single thing. And without self-trust, I can't have self-love. And without self-love, I can't have self-trust. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg again situation, like which comes first? And I think the pursuit of both comes first. Like, I have to pursue growing and loving myself, because when I'm pursuing growing and loving myself, I'm going to automatically start to trust myself. Because in order for me to prove that I love something, someone, I have to show up. And trust isn't built without showing up. Like, this makes me think about my dad growing up when I was a kid. And he was in and out of my life. Thank God he's consistently in my life to this day, to right now in this day. But growing up, he was inconsistent. And so because he was inconsistent, I didn't trust when he said that he would show up. So I would have a basketball game and I would look, I'd be peeking in the crowd looking, and I didn't know, I didn't trust that he would show up. And so When you can trust that you'll show up, that increases the relationship, that enhances the relationship, that enhances the self-love that you feel. And when we take this back to us, how often are you showing up for you? How often are you becoming a person of your word? How often are you being a person of your word? How often are you saying, this is what I want to do, and then I do it? And this is where I think a lot of folks struggle with, whether like terms, whether it's procrastination. I know there's so many other things that go into procrastination, but I think sometimes the root of it might be a lack of self-trust, a lack of self-love, a lack of obviously discipline, sometimes consistency. Again, I know the research on procrastination goes beyond that, and it can point to ADHD and different things like that. So that's obviously not what I'm talking about. But another word I can use is avoidance, right? Like, are you avoiding you? And so I don't want to get too deep too soon, but that's just what we're going to talk about today is like, and this is why I want to take it at a calmer, softer, slower pace. I might pick up if I catch something, I might pick up, but I want to talk a little bit slower because of how important having self-trust is to this entire equation. Authenticity, confidence, purpose, personal development, all of it. Without trust, we don't have anything. So the quote for today is, trust the process. I don't know who started this quote, but if you're in any like athletic world, you've heard it before. And the reason why people say trust the process is because when you're working hard at something, you have to trust the process. And what it means to trust the process is you have to trust that the process that you've laid out is going to reap you the benefits and reap you the fruit that you hope to see. But in the midst of the process, you don't always see the fruit because you're in the midst of doing the sowing. You're not at reap stage yet. And the reason why I chose this quote is because a lot of folks will say, trust the process. And it's become a cliche to where when I'm like, and I peel back the layers, I'm like, okay, what is the process then? To me, the process is life. If I say I have to trust the process, I think the process is life. So I have to trust life, but it's also not just life itself, but life, the journey, life, the cycle, trusting life to sometimes work itself out, trusting the journey that you're on, because that is it. The process is life. And sometimes the process is up, you got high. Sometimes the process is low and you just are like, man, I can't have it. Sometimes you're whelmed, you're overwhelmed. Like, right. It's like, it just ebbs and flows. Life ebbs and flows. And so, but the other thing is, in order for me to trust the process, I have to have a process that I trust. Again, in order for me to trust the process, I have to have a process that I trust. And I think a lot of us don't have a process that we trust, so it makes it hard for us to trust the process. And if I don't trust the process, then I'm not going to commit to the process, which means I'm not going to be consistent to my process. I'm not going to be disciplined in it. I'm not going to show up for it. So if I'm not consistently showing up for me in the process, in my process, what is that going to relate to? Or what are we going to end up having? We're going to end up having a lack of trust simply because I don't trust the process, because I don't believe the process is going to do what I need it to do. I lack faith in it. I'm not showing up for it, which means like, why would I trust it, right, to begin with? And I want you to think of any time you've tried to grow and just didn't stick with it. I want you to think of any time you attempted to, right now it's the beginning of the year still. By the time this comes out, it'll be the second quarter. And statistics shows that cats were done with their New Year's resolutions like way, way early by February, right? And so now, are you going to get back on the horse? Are you going to continue that? Like, did you set out to have a certain amount of goals and dreams and aspirations and habits and all that stuff developed, and now you didn't follow up for whatever reason? And the reason why I'm bringing that up and I want you to think about that is because that is either going to help you grow and develop trust with yourself, or it's going to decrease the trust you have with yourself. And I don't know how many times I've heard people talk about having trust within ourselves, right? I hear the self-love conversation, obviously the awareness, the healing, emotions, all that, but like trust is a key component of that. And I'm really, really big on being a person of your word. And when you have the ability to be a person of your word, like your word is really all you have at the end of the day. I don't care how much money you may have, status, all those things, like your word is bond. And when you're somebody who believes like my word is my word is my word, and that's all I have, that's all that I have is my word, then you move different. But again, I want to relate this back to us. If I believe that my word is all that I have when it comes to me and my relationship with self, then I'm only going to say things I know I could follow up on. I'm only going to make commitments I know I'll stick to. Because the more commitments that I make that I don't stick to, I'm only harming my relationship with self. And if I'm willing to harm my relationship with self by not following up and showing up for me, that means I'm willing to harm my relationship with you and not follow up with you. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for you. And so I've had to become, I mean, I could sit here and make a whole series on the lack of, or the times that I've not shown up for me, on times that I have not been a woman of my word, on times that I've just like, I've played me, I've lost my trust in multiple different areas. Like I can go on and on. And like we talked about a couple episodes ago, we talked about humility. In losing trust in yourself is a humbling situation. Like going on the trusting journey with yourself is a humbling situation. It's a humbling journey because it makes me think of the quote, is it better to love than never love at all? Is it better to love than never love at all? Because to love is to say, here is my heart. I'm giving you permission to hurt me. So if we think about it like that, is it better to trust or never trust at all? Because if I say I'm going to trust you, just because I trust you does not mean you are not going to fumble that trust. Just because I trust you doesn't mean that you're not going to do something to lose it, to nick it, to where we have to trim it back down and kind of start all over. Ooh. Think about this. Again, I want to go back to the nail analogy. If you grow your nails out, then this will really make sense. Or you see somebody who does. There's a certain length, right? That you're like, okay, if I don't get my nails past this length, I know it's not going to chip. I know there's not going to be any problems. And because sometimes the longer the nail grows, the thinner it gets, especially if you're not doing anything to help build them up. So think about this. Sometimes the longer folks' trust gets, the thinner it gets and the easier it is for it to break. So because you've been doing relationship and life deeper with them. And so with you, if you're moving in a way that if you have not built up your trust with yourself, you may have like your nail might be right there on the fingertip, on the bud, because you haven't started that process. And sometimes you might be a nail biter and all of those things. But I bring that up because is it better to trust or never trust at all? I think it's better to trust and never trust at all. I believe it's better to love than never love at all. And I think that if we choose the latter, and never trusting and never loving at all, I think that comes from a place of hurt. And I'll give you an example. Literally last night I was thinking this question. I was watching a TV show, A Million Little Things. And I don't know if you watched it or haven't watched it, so I'm not going to spoil it. But one of the characters' moms died. So obviously for me, that was just like, it was a lot. And I'm like, would I rather have not had my mom in my life? And this is a question I've asked myself just before. Would I rather have not had her at all than have had her for the time frame that I had her? I was like, hands down, I would rather have had her for the time frame that I had her, right? So I'd rather have had that love and had that experience and had that joy than to never have had her at all. Like having her was worth the heartache of losing her. And I say that now in relation to this is you being able to develop a self-love and self-trust relationship with you is going to be far greater than any pain that you'll experience in not trusting you. And I just told you there's so many ways and areas in my life that I've not shown up for me, that I've not been a woman of my word, that I've lost my trust, I've lost other people's trust, all the above. But it increases my intention and attention with making sure that I'm following up on being that, because I don't want to experience that again. And it feels really good to be a woman of my word. It feels really good to show up for me. It feels really good to do the thing I said I was going to do. It feels really good to have the trust of others. Like, it feels really good. So the good is always going to outweigh the bad. But if we get fixated on the bad and on the negative feeling and the sadness and the hurt and the pain, we're not going to be able to see the joy on the other side of it. And so as you think about self-trust, your self-trust journey and its relation to authenticity is like, can you trust you to show up for you as you? Can you trust you to show up for you as you? And that's what having self-trust and authenticity is all about. Because if you think about, especially in middle school, high school, early college, you're just trying to figure out who you are. And let's say maybe you had a friend that every time you got around this friend, you start acting in ways that you're like, that's not really who I am. That's not how I want to be. But every time you get around this friend, their peer pressure, their energy, they're so influencing and they shift you in that direction. And then you leave and you're like, man, I didn't really want to do it. I didn't want to do it, but I didn't want to disappoint my friend. I didn't want to not hang out with my friend. I didn't want to, or let's say you and your friend kicked it in high school and you guys was on the same wavelength the whole time. Like y'all did everything together. You guys was Siamese, you was twins. Where have you been? Like you was all on that, right? And then maybe you went off to college and then you changed. And now you change and you switched up and you're like, okay, I got my mission for my life, my vision, my purpose, my habits, my goals. I've got all these different things that I want to do. Woo, woo, woo. Like you're like, okay, cool. And then you go home for summer break, or then you go home for Christmas break, or then you graduate and you go back and then you connect with this friend and they're like, who are you? And so do you trust your ability to not switch up and fall back to that peer pressure? Do you trust your ability to not switch up and then become the person that they want you to be versus the person you've worked really, really hard to become? That's what self-trust is about. That's part of what self-trust is about. Because we have to face it. We have done things over and over and over and over and over. We've chipped and chipped and chipped and chipped away at our trust with ourselves. But if you're not also building and building and building and building as you're chipping and chipping and chipping, if you chip more than you build, what are you going to have? And I think I want to sit in that for a second. If you're spending more time chipping away at your self-trust than you are building your self-trust, then you'll never be able to live the life that you want to live. Because you don't trust you. And if you don't trust you, who else is going to trust you? Because I can't treat you better than I think about you. And I can't treat me better than I think about me. And my lack of self-trust and self-love and self-confidence will exude through my body, which means my insecurity is going to pop up. My imposter syndrome going to pop up. My lack of just belief to execute is going to pop up, which is my lack of self-efficacy, my inability to be disciplined, my inability to follow through, which is going to come out in how I do what I do. So then now folks ain't going to want to rock with you because it's lit. You can't outdo what you're doing. You can't outdo what you're doing. So if I'm spending time chipping away at my trust for myself, and I'm not spending time building up that self-trust, I can't outdo the chipping unless I'm building. If I'm building more than I'm chipping, then I can. But if primarily I'm just chipping away, and here's where, if you think of this as building self-love as a habit, it's an everyday small thing, every day in small ways. I said I was going to get up at 7. I got up at 7. Boom, built self-trust. I said I wasn't going to eat that. I didn't eat that. Boom, built self-trust. I said I was going to show up on time. I showed up on time. Boom, self-trust. I said I was going to watch one episode. Boom, self-trust. I said I was going to call my such and such. Boom, self-trust. I said I was going to take this moment for me. Boom, self-trust. Anytime you say something verbally or mentally, or it's in your head, and you do that thing, that's a building block towards you building up self-trust, which equates to self-love, which develops you just continuing to be your most authentic self. But anytime that you say, I'm going to do, and you don't, chip. I'm going to get on the treadmill, but I don't, chip. I'm going to watch one episode, but I watch 5, chip. I'm going to eat the apple, but I grab chips. I'm going to be home by chip. Like I'm saying, it's a chip. Everything. And this isn't, man, please hear me. This isn't to influence you to have some cookie cutter, super disciplined, dry life. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about when you have the ability to show up for you, to give you what you want, it increases your entire life experience. Which goes back to increasing your self-efficacy, which is your hope and your optimism. You're more optimistic when you show up for you. Your hope increases when you show up for you, and then it exudes through your smile. That hope and optimism permeates through you. Because when you can show up for you, it increases your capacity to show up for others. When you can show up for you, it increases your capacity to show up for others. And we need a world of people who can show up more for other folks. But then it makes me think, is there a lot of folks out there who ain't showing up for themselves, which is why they're unable to show up for other people? And that breaks my heart. So I want you to think about self-trust as decision making. We just laid it out. Anytime that I'm saying something and I commit the action, that's me building self-trust. Anytime I say something and I don't commit the action, that's me chipping away at my self-trust. So what that comes down to is decisions, right? There's the initial choice of thought and options that are placed out, but then me following up is the action, and the action is committing to the decision. And so developing self-trust to becoming who it is that I want to be is just committing to the decision. Developing self-trust to becoming who it is that I want to be and my authentic self is just me committing to the decision, to me following through, to me making and having the actions that align with who it is that I want to be. So self-trust is decision making. And that, I feel like, in and of itself is a whole other thing. Decision making is broad, because when emotions are high, sometimes logic is low. So when emotions are high, which means now I'm operating out of my limbic system, which is my emotional brain, what we like to call here my entertainment brain. When I'm here, it's hard for me to make decisions based off my prefrontal cortex, which we like to call the executive. It's hard for me to make executive decisions that align with who I want to be when I'm operating out of my emotions. So again, when emotions are high, logic tends to be low, unless I have the ability to calm myself down. So that way I can operate out of logic. I can operate out of the executive. I can operate out of my prefrontal cortex. I can operate in a way that aligns with who it is that I want to be. But if you don't trust that you have the ability to do that, you're not going to do that, right? Like you're not even going to put yourself in situations that may require it. And this could be good or bad. Let's say you get a promotion. Let's say you get some type of advancement in life. Let's say your performance, like you get elevated. And now increased elevation, increased responsibilities just requires more To whom much is given, much is expected. So the more responsibilities you get, the more expectation you have. And with that expectation is going to come stress, may come anxiety, right? So do you trust that I can de-escalate myself? Do you trust that you can breathe in the way that you need to? Do you trust that you can communicate in a way to be able to de-escalate conflict? Do you trust that you can communicate in a way that just like says what needs to happen with confidence? So if you don't trust yourself, and this, again, this isn't good or bad situation. This is just across the board. Do you trust that you can respond in a way that aligns with who it is you want to be? And that's what we're talking about. Because the who it is that you want to be is your authenticity. And your ability to commit the action is the decision making. So let's think about it like this. Is that 25 minutes? Okay. I want you to think about developing self-trust as you simply keeping promises with yourself. Just if you're like, okay, Dr. Rees, I hear you. I struggle with my relationship with self and my self-love. I don't trust me. Like, I mean, we could take this joint anywhere, whether it be food, working out, relationships, intimate romantic relationships, intimate platonic relationships. You may be a gossiper, a cheater. I don't know what it is. You may be like, I can't hold a glass of water, and I don't want to, but I do, and then I don't know. I don't know where your personal trust issues lie. But I want to tell you this. If you have personal trust issues, I want you to just take a moment right now to forgive yourself. If you struggle with trusting yourself, I want you to take a moment right now to forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive yourself, you're not going to be able to build up that self-trust, which is going to equate to self-love, which is going to equate to increase authenticity and confidence in you living out your purpose. Because if you don't trust you, you can't do you. And can't nobody do you like you do, boo-boo. And so what I'm telling you is this. If you struggle with self-trust and you're mad at you and you're angry for those decisions that you made, trust me, I've been there. But without forgiving you and giving yourself grace, you're not going to be able to move forward. Because if you're spending all your energy and time on being angry at you and not giving yourself that forgiveness and grace and freedom to move forward, that energy is being used towards that versus having the energy to be used in the opposite direction to be able to build. Your energy is going towards chipping versus going towards building. And we need that energy to go towards building. And so if we think of self-trust again as being a promise keeper, if you're saying, okay, I want to be able to move in this direction of building some self-trust, I need to be able to trust me. And even in other situation, it might be money, right? I don't care what it is, money, friends, relationships, like not flashing, being angry, cussing folks out, wanting to be better, wanting to grow in your emotional intelligence, like all of those different things. It's going to require trust. I got this new job. If you want to be able to diminish imposter syndrome, you have to be able to grow your trust. If you want to be able to diminish imposter syndrome, you have to be able to grow your self-trust. And so if that's something you're trying to do, then here's a thought. Start with small promises. Make yourself a new promise every day. It might be the same promise every day. Start with a small promise. I promise you I'm going to do this thing. I promise. And you might even be like, yeah, you said it before. I don't care. We're not doing that. We're moving forward. It might be this. I promise I'm going to hang up my clothes when I get home. I promise I'm going to get gas when I get off of work. I promise I'm going to eat something different. I promise I'm going to take 10 minutes to myself. I don't care what the promise is. There's no small or big promise here. Whatever promise you need to make to you, make the promise. And I really want you to start with probably making a promise you know you can keep. Because we're trying to build and we just need a little bit. So I want you to start with making a promise you know you can keep. Now, once you've seen it, because I need you to see you show up for you. I need you to see you show up for you. Because when you see you show up for you, what is that going to do? That's going to increase your trust that you have with yourself. So I need you to see you to show up for you. Boom. Okay, I showed up for me. And now if we move on to something bigger, food in the gym is always the easiest things to talk about, right? Because they're usually things that are sometimes the most difficult. I want to see you say, I'm going to go work out at this time, and then you go do it. Or I might go to the gym and nobody say you had to go in. You might just go in the parking lot. I don't know. You have to be able to gauge where the next level pinpoint challenge is. Like, you have to be able to gauge that. And that requires you having a conversation with yourself. But I need you to identify, what promise do I need to keep to myself so that way I can show up for me. Okay, so become a promise keeper. Become a person of your word. If you just focused on those two things for the next 6 months, I promise you your life gonna change. If you say, I'm gonna hone in on just keeping promises to myself and becoming a person of my word to others, it changes and shifts your entire identity. If you're a leader, you're going to see increased fellowship. You're going to see increased trust from folks, right? If you're a parent, you're a friend, whatever it is, if you really just keep promises to other people, you become a person of your word, they then identify you as being a person of your word. Right? I told a story at the beginning about my dad. Now, if he say he gonna show up, he's there. I don't even have to question it because he's proven over the last 10 to 15 years that he doesn't want to be that dad who didn't and who wasn't a person of his word. Now he's a person of his word. So if I say, Dad, boom, you said you're gonna be here at 5, he's like, I'm already on my way. Cool. And you know, as a daughter, how good that feels to have at one time experienced a dad who did not keep his word to now be able to experience a father who does keep his word. Goodness, I mean, the little girl in me just gets so excited because now when I say, Dad, we're doing this, are you going to come? And he says, yeah, I know that oh, look at me getting emotional. I know that little girl is going to be excited. Her fulfillment, there's fulfillment in that. And so now, for me, when it comes to personally, on a personal relationship tip, for the last almost 90 days, about 75 plus days, I've been showing up for me in a way that I really need. And then I just increased the show up. And now I'm like, like the beast mentality for me is just increasing in another way because I just said for 90 days, I want to show up for me in a different way, in a way that I slacked off before. And now on day 75, I'm cooling. I've proven to me that I can show up for me. And you know what that increases? My ability to now show up for my son, which is so fire. And to show up for my lady, like to show up for my family, to show up for people. As an entrepreneur, if I don't respond and I don't show up and I don't have timely communication and people don't trust that I'm going to be able to deliver what I said, I don't have a business. So for me, trust is every bit of everything because my life begins and ends with it. And especially because I've lost other people's trust before. I've lost my trust before. I've done so many different things. Like, it's that much more important for me to make sure I'm doing those two things. I'm keeping promises to myself and I'm being identified with being somebody who's a person of their word. Like when Reese says she gonna do this, it's done. It's done. It's a done deal. Like, I need my lady, I need our son to know that when I say something, that's just it. I need people to know, like, when I say I'm going to do it, it's a done deal. One thing my grandma said to me, she said, when you say you're going to do it, it's going to get done. And then this was in relation to me living out my dreams and doing something cool, which just makes me so sad and excited at the same time that my grandma saw me live my life in a way that, like, when I said I had a dream and I said I had a vision, and I said I wanted something to do and I did it, that she identified me as being somebody who gets it done. And that gives me increased trust. That gives me joy. Obviously, that makes me emotional with obviously she's not here anymore, but knowing that's how she saw me. Like, that gives me joy. So I want you to experience that same joy with being able to show up for yourself. There's joy attached to being able to show up for you. The same way that there's sadness attached to when you didn't show up for you and how that pain and it was difficult to make you angry, that means that there's also joy, because remember, there's always opposition. So if you experience pain by not showing up for you, show up for you and see how much joy you get. Show up for you and see how exciting it feels to be like, oh, look at me, I did that. Yes, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a fist pump, go ahead and clap, a chest beat, whatever you got to do, you showed up for you. So now I want you to think about this is like three things. I'm going to give you three things. I'm going to wind this down with three things. But before I go there, I'm going to say this real quick. I had to peep at my notes to see if there's something else that I missed out, because I just started going and I'm like, let me peep and check the notes real quick. I want you to think about, am I credible and are my thoughts credible? The reason why I want you to think about this is because trust is about reliability and reliability is about credibility. So am I credible and are my thoughts credible? And the reason why I said the thoughts credible is where I'm going to take you next, is because not all thoughts are true. Not all thoughts help us develop what it is and become who it is that we want to be. And so I need you to watch yourself more and talk to yourself more and hear yourself talk more. So I want you to watch you and listen to you, because when you watch you, am I moving in a way that's in alignment with who I want to be? When I left this event, when I went to this event and you leave and you look back like, did I? Ooh. Because all that's doing is now it becomes a process, not a super rigid thing. It depends on how much of a high performer you want to be. It depends on how serious it is for you to be able to become the person you want to be, when you can look back and say, okay, man, I went to this event. I said I was going to talk more. I didn't. I said I was going to do whatever. I didn't. Okay, why? Because remember, all this is research. We're just doing research on us. And that's where we insert grace and forgiveness, and then we repeat. So now, if I ask myself, am I a credible person? And are my thoughts credible? I need to be able to watch me do me, and I need to be able to listen to what I'm saying. Because when I listen to what I'm saying, then I know I can snatch and catch those thoughts and replace them. Because those are going to be trust building things that we do. So that way we're in alignment with who it is that we want to be, and we're not just flowing through life like a leaf in the wind. The other thing I want you to think about is like, on this journey, if you're going to trust the process, then you have to give grace, forgiveness, love, freedom. Like, this is a journey of self-love, a journey of self-trust, a journey of being your authentic self and having confidence in being that person. So you have to insert those things, and those things are not easy things to do. However, when you do implement them, your life is going to blow up that much more. And I don't mean stardom blow up. I mean just the feeling of satisfaction. Because when you've been someone else for so long, or you've been not showing up for you for so long, it's going to be hard for you to trust the new you. It's going to be hard for you to even trust that you can become a new you. So this is why I need you to take this journey slow, one promise at a time, lower the bar so you can reach it and build that confidence in reaching it, and then raise it, and then reach it, and then raise. Like, this ain't no sprint. This ain't even a marathon. This is a legit trek through life. Because even when you start to trust yourself, there's going to be times when you lose trust and you gonna nick it. Dang it. I said I was, catch it. Because why? Because we're human. Because we're not perfect. And that's why life is an amazing game of nobody reaches perfection, because I'm always going to be going through this journey, right? And so when you've been somebody else for so long, when you have been somebody else for so long, when you have played yourself for so long, when you have chipped away at your self-trust for so long, it's going to be hard for you to be able to develop and trust that you can even be the person you want to be. But it's possible with you starting by being a promise keeper and a person of your word and just slowly showing up for you day after day, giving yourself grace, giving yourself forgiveness, giving yourself love, showing up day after day and analyzing the situation, watching how you move, listening to your thoughts, and then talking back to it and making the adjustments where you need to. And then you just continue on. So here are 3 things in order for you to help you do this. Number 1, I want you to start to prepare for the best and the worst. Because oftentimes I don't trust that I can handle worst case scenarios, right? I don't trust that I can handle going into whatever it may be, right? Peer pressure situations, hanging out with certain people, seeing certain people, whatever the case may be, is I don't trust that I can go here and still be me. So I need you to prepare for it through visualization. Prepare for the best and the worst. Number 2, I need you to listen to how you talk to yourself. Then I need you to talk back to yourself. Listen to how you talk to yourself and then talk back to yourself. Number 3, and this one is the most important of them all. I need you to spend more time with you. I need you to spend more time with you because the more time you spend with you, it's going to increase. Because the more time you spend with you, it's going to increase your self-trust because you're getting to know you. You don't get to grow in any relationship without spending time with somebody. You don't meet somebody one time and be like, oh my gosh, and then you have to spend time. So if you, the same way you expect to grow in relationship and want to spend time with other folks and grow in relationship and trust with them, it's the same thing with you. So I need you to spend 5 minutes. If you're like, oh, I don't have the time. You have to find the time. You have to make the time. Not find it. You need to find it, make it, keep it, and follow through with it. And that right there might be the initial promise you keep to yourself. So I need you to spend time with you, and that might need to be the promise that you follow through on. That might be the commitment. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes with myself every day. If you got an hour, take an hour. If you got a day every week, take that day every week. Whatever your bar is, set the bar at figuring out how much time can I spend with me, because I need to get to know me, because I got some interpersonal trust issues that I got to be able to work out. And I need to figure it out. And you're not going to be able to figure them out and work them out and start building unless you spend time with you. You're not going to be able to listen to what you're saying if you're not spending time in solitude with you. You're not going to figure out what it is that you really need if you're not spending time with you. You're not going to be able to combat the imposter syndrome if you're not spending time with you. You're not going to be able to figure out, look at this area of my life I've been chipping away at. Now I need to start building back here if you're not spending time with you. So however it looks like in you and your life, for you to start showing up for you more, because when you show up for you, then you're going to become you that much more, which means you're then putting your authentic self out in the world, which means you're becoming that much more confident in who you are. And then look at that. So I hope that this delivery, I hope that this message, I hope that this blessed you in some type of way and encouraged you to show up for you. Encouraged you that even if you chipped away at trust at some area in your life, that you can build that joint back up, right? One day at a time, one action at a time, that allows you to become a much more trustworthy person for yourself and for others. So that's pretty much it, y'all. So until next time, I pray that sorry, I've never really said that before, but so if you enjoyed this message, I hope that you like and subscribe and share this with somebody who you know may need to hear this message. But I need you to do 2 things. I need you to remember that you are the bag and to continue with confidence. Until next time, I'm your host, Dr. Rees. Peace.